Shabbat Shalom. How far will this hatred go? It could have stopped when our Jewish restaurants were boycotted. It could have stopped when our synagogues were set on fire, when the windows of our Jewish schools were shattered, when mezuzot were ripped from our neighbors' doorposts, when Jewish students were harassed on university campuses. It should have stopped when a 12-year-old girl in Paris was raped by 3 boys to avenge Palestine. Or when Paul Kessler, 69 years old, was beaten to death in California for holding an Israeli flag. Or when Benjamin Haruni, a 29-year-old dentist, was shot in San Diego simply for being Jewish. But it didn't stop. It got worse and worse. And now, Yaron Lishinsky and Sarah Milgrim have been gunned down in the street of DC, in our own backyard. When will be enough for the world? Will it be when all the Jews are dead? I really hope not. The expression, the writing on the wall, originates in the book of Daniel, the prophet Daniel. In chapter 5 of that book, King Belshazzar, a Babylonian ruler, likely the son or the grandson of Nebuchadnezzar, who was the Babylonian king who destroyed the temple. So his son or grandson, Belshazzar, throws an extravagant feast. In an act of sacrilege, he uses the holy vessels from the temple that was looted by his father for drinking and partying. And while doing so, he praises the Babylonian gods. Suddenly, a mysterious hand appears and writes words on the palace wall. Mene, mene, tekal ufarsin. Have you heard these words before? Again, mene, mene, tekal ufarsin. The words were in Aramaic. But the king, even though he knew how to read and how to speak Aramaic, was not able to understand it. So the Talmud will ask that question. Rabbi Shimon asked, what is the reason they could not read the writing on the wall? And Rav answers, because it was written for them in an obscure code of gematria. In fact, it was written in something called Atbash, or exchanging the letters of the alphabet with its counterpart of the opposite place in the alphabet. It's called Atbash. The Aleph, you write a Taf. The Bet, you write a Shin. So it was written basically backwards, or if you want, upside down. That is why the king could not understand, the words mene, mene, tekal, ufarsin. The murder of Yaron Lishinsky and Sarah Milgrim was the consequence of the writing that was on the wall, and many didn't know, or more probably, didn't want to read. Many refused to admit that we live in an upside-down world. In such upside-down world where Jewish people will support the actions of a leader, call it president, prime minister, or any other type of leader, just because the leader represents their political affiliation, even though they know the actions are wrong. In a world where our priorities have changed. We live in a world that was described brilliantly by Amos Oz in his book, A Tale of Love and Darkness, and I'm going to quote, "When my father was a young man in Vilna, every wall in Europe said, 'Jews go home to Palestine.' 50 years later, he went back to Europe on a visit. The walls all screamed, 'Jews, get out of Palestine.'" Let me be very clear. Elias Rodriguez, the murderer who screamed, "Free, free Palestine," after killing Sarah and Yaron, went to the Jewish museum, not to the Zionist museum, not to the Israel museum, not to the Israeli embassy. He went to the Jewish museum. He went after Yaron and Sarah, or but after me and you as well. One of us, Sue, was there. And we're glad you're here with us, Sue. But it could have been any of us. And as long as we do not denounce that anti-Zionism is the new anti-Semitism, we will have it backwards. We will have it upside down. We'll continue refusing to read the writing on the wall. As long as we do not denounce that anti-Zionism is the new anti-Semitism, we will be validating statements like, "It didn't happen. The Jews made that up. The Jews were the ones who did it to themselves." You have to understand the context. It wasn't anti-Semitism. There you go, the Jews playing victim again. Or even worse, the Jews deserve it. The writing was on the wall, and I am very sad and afraid to say that we were lucky that only 2 souls were taken. It is very hard and difficult for me to say that, but this is how I feel. If we can see it, if we can see that, we will not be reading the writing on the wall. We will be like the king of Persia who died the next day. He was not able to read the upside down message. So today we read from 2 parashot. We read in the second one, in Bechukotai, there's a hint with a similar message. The parsha starts with the words, "Im Bechukotai telechu." If you follow my rules, you will receive the following blessings. Then the Torah goes on to mention a list of blessings. That list, after many blessings, hopefully, we'll receive, ends with the word komemiut. The blessing starts with the letter Aleph from the word im bechukotai telechu, and ends with the letter Taf, komemiut, encompassing from Aleph to Taf, from beginning to end, a wide life filled with blessings. Then the Torah goes on to enumerate the curses, and it starts, Ve'im lo tishme'u li, if you don't hear Hashem's voice. It starts with Ve'im, the letter Bav, the 6th letter of the alphabet. And then the list of curses ends with the tetragram, the name of God that ends with the letter Hey, the 5th letter, hinting that in a world of curses, the life is upside down, starting with the 6th and ending with the 5th, making it narrow and filled with curses. And God gives us the choice. It is our choice. What type of life we want to live? One where we call anti-Zionism for what it is, the new anti-Semitisms, or one where we look to the other side? So, Rabbi, I hear you. Now what should I do? So here is my humble suggestion. Make your Jewish causes your priorities. You give charity, find a Jewish cause. You're an activist, invest your time in Jewish activism. You have doubt about IDF's morality? I really hope you don't. Talk to me. I will be happy to talk to you. Think of Israel as your family, not perfect, but the only one we have. Put aside your phone and grab a Jewish book. Learn some Torah instead of the latest news. It is better for the soul. And finally, honor the memory of Yaron and Sarah with acts of kindness. I did not know them, but I learned about their kindness and their desire for peace. I hope and pray that each of us get it straight and not upside down, and then sooner than later, each of us can read the writing on the wall. Shabbat Shalom u'mevorach.